You're listening to Protecting What Matters by the Ohio Department of Commerce. Commerce is Ohio's chief regulator, and we play a vital role in keeping you safe by protecting your property, your money, and some of the products you use every day. This is designed to bring awareness to important issues and help educate consumers and businesses. Join us as we chat with trusted industry experts focused on providing you with the tools you need to help you protect what matters most in your life.
Give us a call. We will answer your calls. We will answer your questions. We will clarify anything that does not make sense. That's why we're here. We really want to give this money back.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Protecting What Matters. Did you know you could have lost or missing money that's just waiting to be claimed, and that you can claim it with just 3 simple steps? I'm Jared Clay, Public Information Officer for the Department of Commerce's Division of Unclaimed Funds, and joining me is Claims Examiner Supervisor Anitra Davis. And on this episode, we're going to answer many of the frequently asked questions we get when it comes to unclaimed funds and how you can claim them. To start, for those who don't know, unclaimed funds come from banks and businesses that report inactive accounts, such as bank accounts, forgotten utility deposits, life insurance policies, and many, many more. And our division currently has about $4 billion, billion with a B, in unclaimed funds, so chances are you or someone you know has unclaimed money. And this money can be claimed by following just 3 simple steps. Step 1, search for your unclaimed funds at unclaimedfunds.ohio.gov. That's unclaimedfunds.ohio.gov. Step 2, you can check your checklist of documentation for any supporting documents that you may need, and you can find that at that same website. Step 3, send in your claim, and you can do that online or by mail. Now, it's the beginning of the year, and many of you are setting up your budgets, and the Division of Unclaimed Funds is asking everyone to add searching for your lost money to your to-do list. So, Anitra, if someone is trying to file a claim, why is documentation so important, and what kinds of documentation can they expect to have to provide?
First, Jared, let me just thank you for putting this on, because this has been a topic of conversation for a long time, and we want people to know that we want to give you your money back. We are not attempting to be a hindrance. We are here every day trying to give dollars back. So first on our list would be your personal identification. That is very important. We need ID. We also need proof of an address or business relationship. So the holders or businesses report to us an address that they last had a relationship with you with, or they will provide a social security number. So we do have to have the documentation to connect the dots. It's more of connecting the dots to make sure that we have the rightful owner. And
really, that's the bottom line, is just getting the money back to the rightful person. You mentioned social security numbers. That might send up some red flags for some people. They get a little nervous when you talk about that. Can you talk a little about why that's required and why we need that to get them their money back?
I think I should start with, we are very trained on how to keep protection on anyone's social security number or any confidential information. We take care. We have rules, policies, regulations. We deal with people's social security numbers all the time, and we protect you. That is a part of our job. Why the social security number is so important would be because, one, it is only one social security number for every person. So it's a great identifier. It is a great way for us to tell we are actually dealing with the right person and giving them their money back. The second reason being is that the IRS requires it. The IRS requires that we provide a social security number with a name, and claimants are required to pay taxes on interest. Only interest, not the actual unclaimed funds.
Now, one question, staying on the topic of those social security numbers, one question we see in social media comments, and we hear quite a bit, is why can't we just match them with their social security number? But that's not always possible, right? Because sometimes the bank or the business might not have that information or may not report it to us, right?
You are absolutely right. And the only reason that we can't always identify is because sometimes they don't report that. The businesses will report what they have on file. Sometimes they don't have the social security number. They only have the address, or they have a relationship, like some sort of other identifier, like a middle name or something like that. But we do not pay on name alone either.
You've talked about social security numbers. We've talked about proof of address, and that kind of documentation. And these are things that anyone who's filing a claim for an unclaimed fund will need to provide. Now, someone who has already done this, got their money, is Rod Friedman. He found his missing money when he stopped by our booth at the Ohio State Fair, and he sat down and talked to us about his experience and the documentation that he needed to provide to get his missing money.
Yeah, that was pretty easy. You need a copy of your Social Security number, proof of address, and things like that. And I had one that had a previous address, so I had to prove that. So there were a handful of forms that you had to send in to prove it. So just no one, I couldn't just use someone else's. There was nothing hard to do. It's easy to do and worth doing.
And Rod is just one of many, many others who have provided this documentation and gotten their money back. And as you've said many times, this is just all a part of what we do to make sure the rightful owner gets their money back. Well, stay tuned, because right after a quick break, we're going to be answering even more of your frequently asked questions that we hear a lot when it comes to claiming your unclaimed funds. It's your money. Come and claim it. The Ohio Department of Commerce Division of Unclaimed Funds is currently safeguarding more than $3 billion in unclaimed funds. So there's a good chance you or someone you know has money waiting to be claimed. Just head over to our website, unclaimedfunds.ohio.gov, to search your name, the name of a family member, or a loved one to see if you have an unclaimed fund. Welcome back to Protecting What Matters. I'm Jared Clay, joined by Claims Examiner Supervisor Anitra Davis, and we're answering some of the questions we get most about claiming unclaimed funds. Now, we've been talking specifically about what kind of documentation is required, and another one of those is proof of address. You've talked about it a little bit already. So can you talk a little bit about why it's so important that we have that proof of address and really what we use that for?
So the proof of address is something that the business reports to us. And why it's so significant is because at the time that a bank account or life insurance policy was in place with the business, that was the way that they communicated or corresponded with the owner. So they had an address, they either mailed them some information or they corresponded with that particular address. So it is a great identifier for us. That is what the business tells us. They say, this is Jane's funds, and Jane used to live at this address. This is how we corresponded. So that is a way that we can tell Jane, we have this address. If you can identify that address, that will help us to know that you are the rightful owner. Now, we do understand that some of those addresses can be really, really old. So we work diligently with our claimants. We want to give you this money back. So we try to find out what significant happened in your life back then. Did you have a baby? Did you buy a house? Did you do anything that you could maybe go to the DMV and get a transcript? Are there other identifiers somewhere? Did you get a hospital bill because you had a baby? Or if you just can't find it, how about possibly contacting one of the 3 major credit bureaus and finding out if you can get your credit report? They usually give you a list of an entire history of addresses. So we do our absolute best to try to help our claimants get that money back.
And that's great information, because one of the questions I think that we probably get more often than any other is someone, they find a claim that's for an address, and like, well, I haven't lived there for 20 years. I don't have a utility bill from then. So what do I do? And you really touched on that a lot, but there's many ways that they can find that, make that connection.
You are absolutely correct. And I hope that claimants will call us. We are here to answer your questions. We are here to help. That's why we come in here every day, to give you your money back. So if you have a question or a concern, or you wonder, will this work? Give us a call. We'll answer.
And another question we get fairly often for an address, that when I first started hearing, I was like, well, that's odd. What if there's a typo in an address where it doesn't match up 1-to-1? What can someone do then?
Well, we will work with them. We'll work with the holder. We'll get a hold of, I call them holders. They are the businesses that report the funds to us. We may be able to reach out to them, talk through some things, and make a connection in another manner. So we want to work with our clients. There's a lot of avenues that we can probably take for any cases like that. So those are unique and one-off, but we want to work with you and make it happen. So we'll do whatever we can to help you get those funds back.
It's really the bottom line is we're going to work with you however we can to get that money back to you. And so far, all this documentation that we've talked about has been for pretty much every type of claim, but there are some claims that you might need a little extra documentation. And one thing we always do, we encourage people to search when they're searching at unclaimedfunds.ohio.gov is to search for loved ones and family members, especially those who are deceased. So say someone has done this, they find an unclaimed fund for a grandparent or uncle or whatever that may have passed on. What will they need then to file that claim?
That is an excellent question. Well, when we think of it in terms of ourselves, we need the same information. And you would need to first identify that your loved one actually owned the property. They actually own these funds that are here with us. So the same documentation would be needed in terms of proof of business relationship with the company or proof of the last reported address. We will need some additional documentation, and that would include maybe a death certificate. And we need to verify that you are the next of kin. And that usually requires that you go to probate. A probate court will determine certain things that we need legally. And if you provide us that documentation, we can move forward with the claim. We definitely have more information on that on our website, but we will also walk you through that. Some of the terminology, some of the paperwork that you may need, we can answer some of those questions just to help guide you. So, yeah.
And again, you can find a lot of helpful information on our website, unclaimedfunds.ohio.gov. You touched on it a little bit, next of kin. Are there certain family members who have to be the ones that go through this process? Like if someone finds the fund, should they pass that on to the next of kin so they can kind of streamline the process a little bit?
Yes, by law, we have the first 4 family members. That would be your actual spouse, would be your next of kin right away. A parent would be a next of kin. A child would be a next of kin, and a sibling. Not in that particular order, but that is the 4 major next of kin. Anybody beyond that may need to go to court to determine that they are the person that can represent that deceased loved one.
And again, this is why it's so important not only to search for your name, but search for family members, loved ones. We've talked a lot about different types of documentation and the questions we get about that when it comes to filing claims. And it might seem like a daunting task. And we talked to another claimant, and his claim was more than $10,000. And so no small chunk of change there. Mm-hmm. And he described to us a little bit about his experience. And he also has a little advice for anybody else who's getting ready to file their claims.
It doesn't take that long to get those documents. It does not take any period of time at all to fill out the forms and turn it in to get your money. It's your money. Why would you not? Take the time, get the documents together, send them in. It's well worth it.
In addition to the documentation requirements, we also hear a lot of questions from people about what comes next after they file their claim. We're going to answer some of those questions right after this quick break.
Thanks for listening to Protecting What Matters from the Ohio Department of Commerce. We are your resource for all safety information for your home or business. Here's a quick safety message reminder from the Ohio State Fire Marshal's office.
So smoke alarms, we want to make sure we're putting those on each level of the house. Each bedroom that you're at, where anybody sleeps, put that inside that bedroom, and then outside where the people sleep. They're important because what you typically have is that early activation, early notification of something happening, in this case smoke building up, and that usually is what tells you that there's a fire happening. So having those placed in those locations that are appropriate, making sure that you're checking the alarms themselves about once a month just to make sure that they're working, change the batteries on them, we like to say twice a year right now, and then after 10 years, those entire alarms are going to need replaced.
For more information on the State Fire Marshal, visit our website at com.ohio.gov/fire. And be sure to check out some of our previous podcast episodes on all podcast platforms.
Thank you for listening to Protecting What Matters. I'm Jared Clay, and with me is Anitra Davis with the Division of Unclaimed Funds, and we're taking on some of your most frequently asked questions about how to claim your lost or forgotten money. Anitra, you've already answered quite a few questions about what's needed as far as documentation when someone's filing a claim, but we also get a lot of questions, especially on the social media side of things, about what comes next. Someone has filed their claim, and now they're wondering, what's next. So can you talk about that process, the timeline, and when and what someone might hear from us?
I know that myself and all the examiners wish that the timeline was less. We want to get you the money back as quickly as possible. However, it is taking about 120 days to process the claim. Our examiners are working very hard. They take each claim, they're looking at the documentation, and they're communicating with claimants. We're either communicating via email or phone call or mail. That takes time. It just does. The majority of the claims that come in, there may be a few documents that are missing, so that we have to contact them, which requires more time, and we're doing each claim this way. So that is why there's a little more time involved in processing the claim, but it's simply to keep everything safe and to pay for the rightful owner. We're just doing our due diligence.
Yeah, and it goes back to what's a recurring theme through this. We want to make sure we're safe and secure.
Absolutely.
And everybody's getting, or the people who are getting the money are the right people. And this is a good reminder, because I know we see things on social media and people are like, well, I'm planning for a spring break vacation or a summer vacation. Well, now's the time. If you think you have an unclaimed fund, file that claim now, because then it can go through all of the claims process and you can hopefully get that money and have some extra spending cash. So say it's been a bit since someone submitted a claim. Is there a way for them to check on their claim to see if, hey, maybe I need some extra documentation, or I just want to see the progress of it?
Absolutely. If you are computer savvy, go on our website. We have a status update. So you can go online, you can see the status of your claim currently. And if you don't understand that, or you don't know where to find that, give us a call. We will answer your calls. We will answer your questions. We will clarify anything that does not make sense. That's why we're here. We're excited to give this money back. Did I say that earlier? We really want to give this money back. So talk with us, communicate with us. If something is not clear, we'll clear it up, and so we can get that money back to you.
And something you said just a second ago, majority of claims that we get may not be complete, or might be something missing. And that goes back to something you said earlier in this episode. Feel free to give us a call or go to our website when you're first doing this. And that way we can make sure everything is, all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted, and that can just help streamline the process too.
Absolutely. When you get that claim form and you get the instruction sheet, if there's any questions or you feel like you have everything you need, go ahead and give us a call and just say, I have this, this, and this. Is this sufficient? And a lot of times we can answer that question very quickly, and we can get your claim processed and your money back to you in the mail within 14 business days from the time we process, from the time we gather everything.
And one of the claimants that you heard from earlier in this episode, he said he did the exact same thing. He had some questions. He gave us a call, and one thing led to another. Now he's got his money. But you just touched on it too. After everything has made its way through, all the documentation's checked off, we verified everything, claimant doesn't have to do anything else, right? They will get that check in the mail.
Absolutely, they will. They will get that check in the mail, and if they can even check on that. They can say, has that check gone out? And we can give them that information so that they can be looking for that check in the mail.
And it's also important to point out that just because someone has already filed a claim in the past, gotten their check, that doesn't mean they should stop searching, right? These reports come into us all the time. So just because someone filed a claim last summer, got their money, they might have more down the road.
Yes, there's always money out there. You never know. You never know. Someone could have left you something that you didn't even know about. So please continue to check. There's always money there. We have billions of dollars that we're trying to give back. So your name is probably still in there somewhere.
Yep. So it's a good practice. Check a couple times a year at minimum.
Yes.
Because we've always got money coming in, and we want to give it back. I appreciate you joining us today. I know we get a lot of questions. I know you've answered a lot. Is there anything else that you'd like to add, or anything that you think people should know?
I just want people to know that we care about you. The state cares about you. We love to communicate. We have no problem with communicating. Please talk with us. Talk with us if you have questions, concerns, or issues. We are here to help, and we want to give you that money back.
Absolutely. That's what we're here for, is to get that money back. So, and one more time as we wrap up, the Division of Unclaimed Funds is holding about $4 billion in unclaimed funds. That's billion with a B. That's just waiting to be claimed by its rightful owners. So you can head over to our website, unclaimedfunds.ohio.gov, to search to see if you have any unclaimed funds and file a claim to reclaim that money. And while you're there, you can find a full list of checklist of documentation you may need, helpful how-to videos on how to file a claim, and any additional resources that could help you put your money back in your pockets. And remember, it's your money. Come and claim it. Thanks for listening.